What's going on, guys? It's the FPL Penguin Calvin back again with another video for you all. In today's video, we've got a big Newcastle fan. It's a bit of an FPL video, but mostly to talk about Newcastle United. We've got all the way from 100% Mags, Carl. Carl, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Calvin, mate. Yourself?
I'm
And
good,
of
mate.
course to your viewers as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for popping on, taking the time, coming on. We're going to be talking about today, guys, getting to know Carl and his love for Newcastle a bit more. Talk about Newcastle in general, especially all his big money behind them, and talking about the season so far and what to expect. Any more players, wink, wink, any more that could come to St James's Park, and also talking about maybe have a look at Carl's FPL team as well. He's not that big on FPL. Probably his second season in FPL. He's mostly just loves the football. He's not interested in FPL, so don't judge his team, anything like that. Don't be nice. But if you got any comments to help him out with his team or any questions in the comments section, I know we're not live. Just fire them away anyway after the video's finished or in the live chat after when it starts to premiere. But mate, thank you for joining me. Yeah, before we get into Newcastle, there's Eddie Howe. We'll leave it on this screen. Do you want to tell us about yourself, mate? Tell us about your love for Newcastle and everything. Do you want to how long you supported Newcastle? Probably as a little lad. Everything.
Yeah, basically I've supported Newcastle since I was born. My dad supports Newcastle, and my brother supports Newcastle. Pretty much everybody in my family supports Newcastle United. Obviously my sister supported Newcastle at one point. Now she's a Liverpool fan, it's been since about when Michael Owen joined Liverpool, I would say she switched over to being a Liverpool fan. But anyway, I've basically supported Newcastle all my life. The first ever Newcastle United game I went to was a game against 1860 Munich, which was in the try and remember here. It was back on 2001. And we took them on at St James's Park in the Intertoto Cup. It was a semi-final second leg game. We'd actually won the first game 3-2 against them. Then we went to St James's Park and won 3-1 on the night. It was fantastic atmosphere. There's been some great nights I've had at St James's Park, European nights. There was one particular where it got an article written about it. My brother wrote an article about it, and it got shown in the Discovery Museum here in Newcastle. Of course, in a Toon Times, I think it was called, the piece that they had in. And it was about the game that I went to with my family against Juventus, where, of course, Newcastle won 1-0 in the game. And I believe it was Andy Griffin, I think, that scored the goal in the game, if I can remember rightly. But I've always supported Newcastle United anyway, basically from the moment I was born. It was always Newcastle United. I live across the river from Newcastle, so obviously that is the biggest team in this region. And when you look at them against the other team, that would be the closest one, which would be Sunderland. It's like, it's obviously going to be Newcastle. I would never ever support Sunderland ever. That would not go down well in my household, I can tell you that, because we're just, us Geordies just don't like Mackems, basically. And I will be taking a good look tonight at that Caribou Cup game that's playing Sheffield Wednesday against Sunderland. I will be cheering on Sheffield Wednesday in that one, hoping that they kick the Mackems out of that. But yeah, I've supported Newcastle all of my life, and it's just getting even better now that we've got these owners in. And there has been the hard times, don't get us wrong. Obviously there's always hard times as a football supporter. You're going to have your highs and you're going to have your lows, and you've just got to hunker in and back your team, basically. I had to suffer 2 relegations in my lifetime, what I've seen of. Obviously, I was a bit too young for the relegation back when we came back up in 92, 93, I was a bit too young for to witness that promotion back up into the first division under Kevin Keegan then. But had the privilege at least to be able to say that I've seen Kevin Keegan's play style. I've seen Bobby Robson, who will always be adored by us Newcastle United fans. A local lad from County Durham. He's always going to be adored here. And I've had the privilege of seeing Bobby Robson, manage Newcastle United, which was amazing. I've had the privilege of, being able to see Bobby Robson in person. When I was growing up, a story that my mum told us about Kevin Keegan. My brother and my sister were with my mum in the park. I think it was one of the local parks around here. I can't remember which one it was exactly right now. But my mum went, and it was a meet and greet type thing. And she went, and Kevin Keegan was there. My mum absolutely adores Kevin Keegan. She really loves Kevin Keegan, to say the least. And she went, and Kevin Keegan, of course, was speaking to my mum, speaking to my brother, my sister, who were only young at the time as well. And I was only a baby. Kevin Keegan, of course, took us off of, my mum. He put us on his knee, and he was talking away to us, and my mum was just absolutely, my mum says she was absolutely flabbergasted that, Kevin Keegan was just had me on his knee, and he was talking away to us, and that's a fond memory for me. I was a bit too young, obviously, to remember it like clearly, but from what my mum's told us and what my brother and sisters told us, it's a very fond memory, especially when you consider, what Kevin Keegan's done for Newcastle United as well. He's been great for both our clubs, Newcastle and Liverpool. So, he'll always be adored by both sets of fans. And yeah, like I say, I've supported Newcastle all my life, so I'm definitely not going to be one of them people, that gets the comments said to them that, they're a plastic. I'm sure there probably will be the one. I've had a couple already that have already said it, and that I've just, straight away shot them down and said, yeah, I've supported Newcastle United all my life. I'm 32 years old. I'm not one of these people that just jumps on the bandwagon because the team's been taken over. I don't agree with that personally. It's up to everybody at the end of the day what they do. That's their opinion. But in my own personal opinion, I don't agree with people that, jump off to a club when the goings get tough.
Yeah, no, talking about the whole plastic fans. Listen, I'm obviously not from Liverpool. I'm not a Scouser, but I've supported Liverpool for 15 years, since 2007.
Yeah.
I've gone to games. I've got photos at me at games against big or small teams. I just enjoy going. I'm not born and bred in Liverpool, but you look at all the fans around the world. Newcastle got fans all over around the world.
Yeah.
I'm no couch sitter. I've gone to games. I've been on the Anfield tour the only week, and I love this club. I've got my local club, obviously, and I go to games to support them. But Liverpool, I know this is about Newcastle, but just to touch on what you were talking about then, just about a minute ago, Liverpool will always be my club. I love them. I've gone to games. I've cheered them on, and I basically couldn't give a shit if people say to me "Oh, you're not from there" and all that shit and all like that. I don't care. I've gone to games. I love this club through thick and thin till the day I die, as they say. That's it. So,
True.
Newcastle, 30 all your life. You're from Newcastle. You love your club, and you're a diehard Geordie fan and things. We're going to be talking about Newcastle, even more about Newcastle now. The big things, with the money and new owners and getting rid of that idiot Mike Ashley and everything like that. So, no, Carl, thank you for that. Thank you for that little intro. Very interesting to know about what you go into those games and what teams and it's always good to hear in your childhood that go into those games and the memories and stuff. But yeah, we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about Newcastle, hell of a lot about Newcastle. Eddie Howe, coming from Bournemouth, end of last season, halfway through, turned things around, replaced Steve Bruce. New owners come in, they get new signings. Bruno comes in, and now this season they've got Pope, Botman. What's your thoughts? It must be a really good feeling at Newcastle. Obviously now, fresh, the atmosphere, the buzz around this ground. Yeah, so tell me about Newcastle now. You plan to go to any games? What have you seen so far? Are you happy with the team? Should we say, like, any more signings? Do you feel after that win against Forest? Do you think Newcastle may need another signing or two, maybe an attack, or are you happy until January? Would you say?
I would say at the moment the team obviously it's never perfect. You don't want to ever say perfect because then there's no room for improvement. You always want a room for improvement. You don't want to be perfect. It's the same with, I'm sure, Man City. Yourselves as well, Liverpool. I'm sure you just don't want to be perfect. You want to have a room for improvement. At the moment, the way it's going, the way it is being built here at Newcastle, I've got to say I'm really impressed, especially, when you look at it compared to what we've had to go through over these past 15 years. It was absolutely dreadful to watch, seeing a club that you love. This is, I've said it before, on so many of our channels. I've said it before to people, in the street as well. This up here, football is more than just, a game. It literally is life up here. That we live and breathe football here in the Northeast, and it's just, if Newcastle play bad on a weekend, it's going to ruin your week. And if you win, then it's going to make that week even better. And having a guy like Eddie Howe who knows how to play the attacking style of football, he's got a really good mentality about him. There's a good feeling about him as well. The way like he goes about talking to the players, the way he talks to the media. He doesn't come off arrogant. He doesn't come off as a know-it-all. Unlike the previous guy that was in the job, where he was, insulting the reporters, he was insulting, the fans. He was just an absolutely dreadful person to be in the job. And now we've got Eddie Howe, who knows what he's doing. He's a brilliant mind, and he's young as well, so he's going to be able to be here for a long time. That's why, he signed that new deal with us as well, long-term deal, which was fantastic to see that he'd signed that deal, because there was questions if the FA came in after the World Cup coming up, would Eddie Howe make a move? I don't think he would have, but there's always that doubt that, he would have maybe been tempted by it. But now, because he's signed that long-term deal, if the FA are to make a move for him, and if they did try to make a move for him, then they're going to have to pay a massive amount of compensation. So I can't see them really doing that. But the way it's going at the minute, it's just really nice. It's a good steady pace. We're not rushing into things. We're taking our time in buying players. With, like you say, we've went out there and signed Sven Botman. We've signed Bruno Guimaraes, who was absolutely amazing. I've got to say, the way he tore Nottingham Forest apart in that game on the opening day there was absolutely brilliant. I mean, there was a video put up on Twitter of him, and it was just showing the IQ that he had in the game. He was already reading where the pass needed to go before the pass was made to him. When the pass was then made to him, he was taking a quick look before the pass come to him, see if that option was still open for him to make the pass, or if it wasn't, he was going to another option, and he was just miles ahead of the game. And that is what you want from a player like that. And I've seen fans on Twitter as well saying, there was a West Ham fan earlier on today who was trolling us Newcastle United fans, saying that, Declan Rice was better than Bruno. his opinion at the end of the day. But in my opinion, obviously it's a biased opinion, but in my opinion, you just got to look at the stats. Bruno is just amazing. He's definitely one of the best signings we've made at this club. Obviously after the signing of Alan Shearer, of course, because of what Shearer did for us, but under this brand new regime, he's got to be one of the best signings we've made in Newcastle United, and it's just really exciting to watch, and it just makes you want to see the next game and the next game and the next game, and it's just going to be a fun season, if we can keep doing what we're doing at the minute.
Yeah, yeah. Just looking back on Newcastle, like for January, for instance, this January, they were picking up a hell of a lot of wins throughout the course going into the leading up to the end of the season. And yeah, Eddie Howe really gave them that sort of like positive vibe. Steve Bruce didn't have that, obviously, let's be honest. And Steve Bruce was a bit of a yes man, but Eddie Howe, like, he's humble in interviews. He's just like, he's not, like you said with Steve Bruce, like lashing out reporters and stuff, or then turning on the fans and all that jazz. I love the Newcastle fans. If they know something's wrong, and they'll say it. They get behind each other, the Newcastle lot, and it's great. It's great. I'd love to, as a neutral fan, love to experience it match day at St James's Park. It just looks wonderful, and the Newcastle fans look like a great bunch. Really do, like yourself. But Newcastle returned things around. We know the owners came in. Just get this on the screen right now. Get the lovely owners right here. Let's get them a bit more big on here. What can you tell us about the owners? Are you obviously they've made a good impact. Everyone loves them at Newcastle. Do you think talking about signings, do you think Newcastle need to build a bit more? Do you think, because I know James Maddison, they had a second bid rejected for James Maddison. Do you think he's what Newcastle need? Do you think what the lad from Leon, Paqueta, his name is, the Brazilian lad, or do you think they need him? Do you think Newcastle needs that extra bit of oomph, should I say, to help support someone like Callum Wilson and Saint Maximin, or do you think you're all good to go until January? Or
I think the minute, like I say, there's always room for improvement. For me, Maddison would be a good signing. He's got the stats. He's had some brilliant games, and he had a brilliant season last season for Leicester City. So he would be a good signing. He's got that Premier League experience. For me, I would go for him. But then there's also the benefits of bringing in Paqueta from Lyon. Obviously, he's a friend of Bruno's, which is something we've all been saying a lot, us Newcastle United fans. He's a friend of Bruno's. Get him in. It's going to help Bruno. But there's a lot more to football than just, and being a friend of Bruno. I mean, if you look at the way the two played together at Lyon, they were fantastic. The partnership, the link-up play that they were doing. If we can get that to us and have that in the Premier League, like I've just said before, the IQ of Bruno was fantastic in that game against Nottingham Forest, and if you get Paqueta in as well, he's going to be able to, put a nice complement towards that and be able to play in a more attacking way as well. So it's going to be interesting if we can get him. At the end of the day, if you look at the price as well, it's how much Paqueta is. I think the price was being rumoured at around 40 million or something like that for Paqueta. I've heard recently that we could maybe get him in for that price. So if that's the case, do you go for Paqueta or do you go for Maddison, who's going to be more than likely, 60 million? So do you save 20 million and go for Paqueta, who's got Champions League experience, somewhere we want to be? Or do you go for Maddison, who's 60 million? He's got the Premier League experience, but he has played a couple of games in the Champions League, but not at the level like Paqueta has. So personally, in my opinion, I would go for Paqueta. And then obviously we do need to bring in somebody in the attacking department as well. Callum Wilson was great in the game against Nottingham Forest. He was quiet, but he scored the goal in the game. Yeah, that's him there. And he scored the goal in the game, but he was quiet. It is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing as well. And then there's also the injury problems as well, which he could pick up in the season. But hopefully, he doesn't. Hopefully, he stays fit. But we do need to have somebody there in that attacking department that can help take the club forward. If that was the case and Callum Wilson was to pick up an injury. Now, the one I would have loved to have seen join Newcastle was, of course, Benjamin Sesko from RB Salzburg. But now he looks like he is going to RB Leipzig in 2023 because they've actually done a deal for him. So he'll be going to RB Leipzig now. Timo Werner was another one that I would have loved to have seen, but again, he's going to RB Leipzig from Chelsea. So that's the area where I think we do need to be looking at for, to get a proven goal scorer that can score every single game for it and stay fit. Because we haven't had that, in my opinion, since, we had Papier Cisse and Demba Ba at the club. That's my personal opinion anyway. We haven't had a proven goal scorer since we had Papier Cisse and Demba Ba at the club. And before that, it was Alan Shearer. And I don't think we've quite found the replacement for Alan Shearer or Papier Cisse or Demba Ba. But Callum Wilson can be that, but he does have fitness worries with him. And that's something, you've got to abide with, I guess, is a thing with Callum Wilson. It comes part and parcel with him at the end of the day. But yeah, I think we could do with some improvement in the attacking area and maybe a little improvement in the midfield with somebody coming in to show up that area, and even more so now as well that John Joe Shelby's picked up that hamstring injury against Benfica in the pre-season. He's now out for 3 months, so he won't be back until December, which will be around about when we'll take on Leicester. So we'll have to see, if we can get some sort of movement in that midfield for a player coming in. But yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, it's kind of a big blow losing Shelby for that long. And like you were talking about with Madison and Paqueta, buddy, tongue twister. I'm going to call him the Leon fella. I know it's disrespectful. But maybe there's good chemistry as well, like you were talking about. If they're, good friends with, with Bruno, he is. He's got better Champions League experience than James Maddison. And he'll cost probably much less than James Maddison as well, as like you said. I don't think the Premier League, like the whole like Premier League experience, is a downside to Paqueta because we've seen likes of Nunes, for instance. He's settling well at Liverpool. Luis Diaz, Bruno, for instance, for Newcastle. Obviously, he's settled in well when he first arrived a couple of months ago. So a lot of them seem to just gel really quickly. So I wouldn't probably worry too much on that. But I'm not one to obviously judge what Newcastle looking fine at the minute. Nick Pope getting a clean sheet against Forest, that'll do some confidence as well. We know Botman started on the bench for Newcastle, did come on. What's your thoughts on Botman? Do you think he's were you impressed when he came on to the pitch? Do you think he'll become a regular starter for Newcastle, or do you think Eddie Howe will keep switching the centre backs, like rotation?
I think we didn't really get to see that much of Botman, obviously, because he came on so late.
Only got 1 minute. I just looked.
Yeah, he got so late in the game, but
what a debut!
He was still pretty good. He did have some really good movement in that 1 minute on the field, but it's mainly about, I think that was mainly about bringing Botman on so he could feel that atmosphere of St. James's Park for the first time. Because that was something, he was saying that he wanted to feel, and the best way to feel it, first game of the season, sold out crowd. I mean, even Nottingham Forest sold out their allocation for the game as well. It was just completely sold out St. James's. So, to get a chance to feel that kind of atmosphere for the first time, I think that was Eddie Howe's thinking behind bringing Botman on for just that minute. But I think looking at the centre-backs, I don't think we're going to see that much of Jamal Lascelles this season. I think it's going to be a mix between Fabian Shaw, Dan Burn, and, of course, Sven Botman in the centre-back roles. Obviously, we've still got Federico Fernandez as well. Then you've got, other players that aren't natural centre-backs but can still play in it. Of course, like Paul Dummett. I believe Mealcraft's played there as well a couple of times forward. But it's mainly going to be, Botman, Shaw and Burn in them centre-back roles. And I think that's basically, what we're going to see. And we'll probably see maybe a bit more of Sven Botman in this game coming up against Brighton down at the MX. We'll see a bit more of him maybe in that one. I would definitely expect, Eddie Howe to be going with Dan Burn in that one, especially with it being Brighton. He's going to know how they play because they won't have had a chance to change that much in the time that Dan Burns moved away. And of course, Dan Ashworth will be, talking on this one as well, giving his input because he was the man responsible for pretty much building that team at Brighton that they've got. Well, what they've got left of it anyway, after we've stole so many of them. But, I'm sure, they'll be having a talk about that. Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth will be talking about that game against Brighton. I'm sure, Dan Burn will also be getting his input across about the game against Brighton as well. And I'm just hoping to get another 3 points in the bag, and get them 6 points straight off the bat, because the next game after this, we'll have to take on Manchester City. So that's a tough game, especially after, if you've seen the game that they played against West Ham. I mean, Haaland was fantastic in that game. Fair be it, the second goal, I think it was, that he scored was purely down to the fact that, West Ham just switched off and just allowed him to run through. I don't think you'd be seeing anything like that happen with our defence. We're really tight at the back. That's something that Eddie Howe has showed up because we were literally leaking goals under Steve Bruce. But now, we're really tight at the back, and it was proven by last season with the performances. We were pretty much on, well, we were on par with yourselves, in form last season, and we're actually outdoing Manchester City's form last season as well when Eddie Howe came into the job. So when Eddie Howe took the job over from Steve Bruce, and that just shows you, how good Eddie Howe is as a manager, and why so many people were saying, this guy should be England manager. But I want him to stay as Newcastle United manager. There's plenty more managers out there that England can go and take. I mean, they could go to Brighton and get Graham Potter from Brighton if they wanted. He's a pretty good manager. Obviously, he won 2-1 on the opening day against Eric Ten Hag's Man United at Old Trafford. So that just proves, how good of a manager that, Graham Potter is. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, when we go into this game on Saturday against Brighton down at the AMX, to be seeing two great upcoming managers in Eddie Howe and Graham Potter who know what they're doing, know how to set their teams up right, and it's just going to be an absolutely fantastic game to watch, and I just can't wait for it. And then, of course, like I say, hopefully 3 points in the bag and we can move on to that game against Man City.
Yeah. Like you said, with the fixtures, you got Brighton next, you got Man City, you got Wolves, who just recently lost Connor Cody. You got Liverpool, you got Crystal Palace, you got So it's a bit of a 50-50, but I think what you did last season, near the end of last season, January time, February, March, and all that, you were doing well. You were in, like I said, you were picking up a hell of a lot of wins. And I think if you keep replicating that into this season, and likes of Dan Burn, the experience he's got, and he knows Brighton well, I think you're in for a really good season. I think what to touch on, to go back to the owners, what they're doing, I think, as well as Eddie Howe, because he's making decisions as well who he wants. You're not making like rash, stupid, bold moves for players like, for
Yeah,
instance, like Liverpool getting Balotelli back in the day. That was the most Brendan Rodgers years ago. So I'm talking things like that. You're taking your time. You're looking at who you want, at what positions need sorting, and I think maybe Eddie looks at the team and thinks, you got Pope and Botman in there, and you think, I think we're okay for now. Maybe try and get another attacker in, what we were talking about earlier, to try just to bolster, to kind of boost that attack a bit more and support Callum Wilson, etc. I think you're in for a really good season. I think maybe top half finish. I had you in my predictions for top half. I think maybe at the minute, maybe 8th and 9th this season, probably for Newcastle. But I think you're in for a much better season than last season and season before that. I think you've got the right man, you've got the right owners, everyone's happy, a lot more positive vibe around the club. But yeah, anything else you want to add, Carl, to Newcastle? Any more thoughts?
um, not that I can think of at the minute. As for the transfers, basically, like I said, just the midfield, a little bit chewed up there, maybe. The attacking area, obviously, we need somebody to come into that attacking area to show up that attack a little bit more, to give cover for Callum Wilson, because, like I've said, he's injury prone. We need to be careful there. One thing like that, and it could really damage the season. And I hope it doesn't happen, to be honest, because that would be really bad. But looking at it, that's basically where we need to show up the most, in the midfield a little bit and the attack a little bit. But that's it basically at the minute, until we'll see what happens in this transfer window. Like, we've got still right the way till the 1st of September before the window even closes, so there's plenty of time.
Yeah, just touch on before we have a look at the FPL team. Callum Wilson, a fit, healthy Callum Wilson can score at least 16, 17, 18 goals in a season. I think he's that good of a player. He's clinical, fantastic finisher. Just like the injuries, he's like a Danny Ings. Danny Ings, if he was fit and healthy throughout the season, he'd be scoring a lot of goals. And it's just a shame to see players like that who are very injury prone, and it just ruins the season for them. And they're out, and it damages. I know they can't help it, the players, but
Yeah,
the team loses their best player, their striker, and who was getting them the goals. It's like Leeds when they lost Bamford, and you know what Bamford's like. He's clinical. He's so good for Leeds, and then he has his injury problems as well. And then Leeds was stuck having Daniel James up front, from former Manchester United player, and he's playing like a false
yeah,
number 9. But Callum Wilson's a wonderful, a really good player, and he's got the experience behind him. I do feel they need another striker. That's just me. I know I'm not a Newcastle fan, but Chris Wood ain't going to cut it. He
definitely.
he's not the. I know why you got him. I know why Eddie Howe got him, for that support. To back a backup striker for Callum Wilson. I understand that, but I feel like maybe they need to get that extra striker, definitely, to help, because if it happens again with Callum Wilson, you're stuck, aren't you?
Yeah,
But what we'll do now, Carl, I know, obviously, thank you so much for talking about Newcastle.
that's okay.
Really do appreciate it. It was really fun talking about your beloved club, Newcastle. But we're going to obviously talk about for about 5 minutes. I know, obviously, like I said at the start, he's not big on FPL. It's probably second season now. I've kind of got him back into it. But yeah, be nice. Be nice. And there's one or two bold ones there. So obviously, I'm not going to comment on your Newcastle boys. They're your team. But I do like him. Well done on the captaincy shout on Trippier. He's a wonderful player, isn't he? Takes set
Yeah, really
pieces,
good.
and Virgil van Dijk at the back, unlucky with the Liverpool defensive side. I'm still a bit obviously pissed off. We were 50-50 in that game. We need to probably bolster our midfield a bit more as well, but I don't want to go ranting off about my team. This isn't about Liverpool. Cucurella was an interesting shout as well. He just signed for Chelsea. Be interesting where, if he's going to start, he's going to try to challenge Chilwell for that spot at attacking left wing back. But another one as well, Ben Rama's another interesting shout. We know they've who did they just sign? The Cornet from Burnley. That's it. So there probably might be rotation there. Declan Rice, baby. You were talking about him earlier, Rice. Somebody comparing Rice and Bruno with the stats. You've also got Almiron too, who's a lovely player. Then you've got Son, the big plate hitters, and Haaland, Son, and Jesus. Bench-wise, there's going to be a lot of people's. Cody has now moved to Everton. You've got Ronaldo in there. Can I give my opinion on this team and players? I know you're not. Obviously, I know you're not that big in FPL, and I think it being your second season, I think the players you probably look to get rid of. I'm not going to touch your Newcastle guys. They're your boys. You go for your triple Newcastle. I like them. I like your triple up anyway. They're really, really good. Like I said, great shout on the captain Trippier. But I'd say probably maybe wild card this week and do a limited transfers. But Cucurella maybe out. I think there'd be rotation for him and Chilwell. Ben Rama, it could be still a good punt. Probably keep him, especially for Notts Forest. But Declan Rice, I don't feel he'll get you the points, mate. He won't get you the points. Definitely won't, because he's a CDM. He won't get you the goals. That's where the points are going to come from, the goals and the assists. I definitely look to get rid of Ronaldo. He's always pulling strops, throwing his dummy out the pram while he's sat on the bench and all that. So I definitely, to help you raise a bit more money, definitely get rid of Ronaldo. He's not going to get game time. He definitely doesn't want to play for Man United. That will save you a lot of money then to probably upgrade especially Rice. If we talk about Rice, get rid of Rice and Cucurella, and then spread that money around. But they're the three sort of players I'd definitely look to move on. But yeah, so it was just have a little look at your team. What's your thoughts on FPL, by the way? Are you not that big on it? Is it not for you? What's your thoughts on it?
I used to do it. I used to do it a little while ago, but what usually happens is, like, the season comes around, I think, I'll try FPL. I'll do that. My brother does one, my sister does one, but then it gets to like midway for the season, and usually, Newcastle weren't doing well, and you just kind of lose interest in it, focus on the games. Or usually sometimes it's more along the lines of, you'll set the team up, you'll forget about it because FIFA will come out and you'll just start playing Ultimate Team instead, which is usually the case. But I'm going to try this year to see if I can keep it going on the FPL side of things. I'm not really going to cover that much of it I'm not going to cover any of it actually on my YouTube channel because I'm really not that big into it. But like, if you ever want us to come on and show me team off and stuff like that, what I've like upgraded throughout the season, I'm more than willing to come on and do that. But again, like you say, I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest.
No, fair enough. No, because it's different interest. It's and then you lose motivation with it, and then, but yeah, it's different tastes at the end of the day. Like I believe it or not, I played this game for 15 years, Carl. 15 years since I was 12 years old. 15 years. There's not been one season, pal, where I've missed. And I met some good people in the community as well, and that's kind of motivated me more to keep playing this as well. But yeah, we'll probably wrap things up now. Carl, thank you for popping on in this pre-recorded video. Great to hear about Newcastle, because it's been all about Newcastle. Let everyone know as well where you can find Carl. 100% Mags. Just type in YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description as well on the live Premiere chat as well. Top guy, growing so well. Your channel's growing, isn't it, for Newcastle? It's pumping that content out, and it's really, really good. Great to hear you post pre-match reaction, transfer news, You're just being yourself, and you're being upfront. You're being real. You're saying how you feel, and I like that in people. But yeah, do check out any Newcastle fans that come across. I'm sure there's one or two Newcastle fans I've got. 100% Mags on YouTube, and give him a follow on Twitter as well. But yeah, Carl, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome, mate.
thank you, everybody. Take care, and see you next time.